So this episode is about naming compounds, and it's in very important chemistry because in organic chemistry it's vital that you can name a variety of different compounds containing carbon. And we'll start off with drawing an alkane, which means a saturated hydrocarbon, which means it will have hydrogen attached to every single carbon, and every single carbon will have 4 single bonds, so like this. And we can also have an alkene, which means that there's a double bond present. I'm just going to represent the hydrogens like this. And this has 2 less hydrogen bonds than the one above, CnH2n plus 2. So this one has 3 carbons and 2 plus 2 and 8 hydrogens, so it's C3H8. And its name is propane. And we see this has the formula of CnH2n, so it's C3H6, and it's called propene. And the way you can remember the suffix at the start of the word, this prop bit, is through, I like to say, monkeys eat and peel bananas. So meth, eth, prop, and bute. For 1 carbon, 2 carbons, 3 carbons, 4 carbons. And that's the basics of the first bit of hydrocarbons. So I'm just going to get rid of this. Okay, and moving on to naming a compound when you're given a structure. So in an exam you might be given a picture of something like this. And of course the hydrogens won't be labelled in the exam. Well, they probably won't be. But you're going to have to know how to label a compound like this. So what we can do is look at the longest, first we look at the longest branch that we can possibly make. So I'm going to change my pen. And the longest branch is these 3 carbons here. So this is definitely a prop group. I'm just going to write the basics here. And then we also have, you see we have another 1 carbon, so we have meth. And because this is the first carbon, this is also the first carbon, depending on which way you look at the chain, this will always be the second carbon. So it's, we got meth, so we got 1 methyl, because there's 1 methyl, and it's attached to the second group. 2 methyl propane is this compound's name. Next up, I'll draw a more difficult compound, and yeah, every single one will have 4 bonds. So we know that this has a longest group of 3 here, we can count 3. And we can also see that there's a chloride group here, and that there are 2 methyl groups, each coming from the second carbon. So we'll start with prop. We'll start by writing prop down, because there's a prop group here. And we'll also note down that there's a 1 chloro, because it's coming out of the first carbon. So it's 1 chloro, and we know that there's 2 carbons both coming out from the second carbon group, so it's 2, 2, giving the location of both the carbons, dimethyl propane, and that is the full name for this compound. And now we can attempt to draw this question here. So I'll be going on to skeletal formula next lesson, so I won't attempt to draw it that way. I'll draw it the simpler way, which means we have a CH3, so there. We have a CH2, that would be like this. And there we go, there's our full compound. So first we'll have to name this group in the middle, which is a bute group. So we'll just put that down here, bute. And we know that there's a double bond. Secondly, there's a double bond here, so it'll be butene. So butene will feature in some part of this. And we also have a chloro here. So that starts us off. We have to mention the chloro's place first. So it's 2, because it's on the second carbon. 2 chloro, and we need to have a dash between these two. 2 chloro, bute 1 ene, and just checking we have everything here. So we have 2 chloro because it's on the second carbon, and we included the chlorine group, and we have bute because there's 4 carbons in a row, and then we have 1 ene because the double bond with the carbons, just make sure an ene is on the first carbon. So yeah, 2 chloro, bute 1 ene, and we can go check the answer on question bank. Yep, it's correct.